Cedric just lives, breathes and dreams beautiful imagery.
Even if this is in frame, at the end of the day, it will look great.
We have CG creatures, an ice wall which raises from the ground. We have magical effects coming out of Ravenna's body and Freya's ice shards. God! We've got a bit of everything, basically.
It was interesting for me to kind of go back to what we saw in the first movie and kind of bring new pieces and new beings, a new creature within that world. And because we are in this magic fantasy kind of world, then it's okay to invent new things. No choice. Freya reveals herself as being another character with magic power, a witch, and she has the power to conjure ice and illusions through ice.
It's a very kinetic sort of power. She has to be touching things or touching the floor or feet to the floor. This is not the freezing power I think we've seen before where you kind of can blast people with your hand. It's actually quite forceful and strong and connected to the earth.
Sarah and Eric are given an opportunity to win the right to leave the castle if they can meet each other in the centre, basically. As they're about to meet, Freya puts up a big shield of ice.
To start that off and to help VFX carry on, we created a practical version. So when you do actually part them, they are actually either side of this. So when they're fighting and punching it, they had something to interact with. VFX will stop the wobble, but you can kind of get a sense of real ice. So it just helps really that practical side. And then Cedric and VFX will do their magic and make it look like, you know, real ice wall.
One thing which Cedric didn't want is just great big shards of ice rising from the ground. So basically she's able to like change water into these triangles which then form different shapes. The actual triangles will grow and grow and they'll always be animated as well so that like we can come up with any shape we want to. Those shapes kind of look like ice. It's not your traditional form of ice, it's a take on it.
Ice comes in many different forms. We've took that in its normal form and then Cedric and Dominic, the designer, have then taken that to a whole new level. From concepts and ideas, we eventually got to about 20 pieces.
When it first comes in, it looks like this. And then, obviously, we go through this process of sticking the triangles on to make it look like they've frozen up. 2 days to put the triangles on, maybe 3. It's quite a long process.
This, in the way it's been done, has never been done before. So I suppose for all the guys and the sculptors and everyone involved, that's probably the thing that we're most excited about and proud of.
63 November, take 1, A camera.
B camera.
In the Goblin Forest, they come across dead goblins who are all laying around and seem to have killed themselves because they want the mirror. So we created these rubber versions that are armatured. So we'll move them, say hello. We'll lay them on the floor and they'll be amongst sort of grass and gold and mud and oil and things. And then as you travel through, you'll eventually come to the Goblin King, and the Goblin King's there with the mirror.
And they're visually incredibly impressive and different to how I've seen goblins shown in the past, which is cool.
So this is an inertial motion capture suit. So this allows us to see Clint as the Goblin King while he's actually performing.
For the Goblin King, we're actually going to have an actor in a suit. He'll actually be in the plate photography. We're going to be shooting with additional reference cameras so that like we can see him from different angles so that we can recreate his movements in the computer. Basically, put the computer-generated version of the Goblin King on top of the actor.
The mirror, move!
The Goblin King calls out to his army of goblins and we end that sequence with Eric actually fighting about 20 smaller goblins. We're going to have Chris act as if he's being jumped on and he's punching them and he's kicking them, and that will be computer generated on top of him.
Uppercut grabs me, which spins me, yeah. Okay, cool. The challenge is, you know, at times you'll be fighting creatures that obviously aren't there, and so you're kind of filling in the blanks, and then that can be challenging.
Back in the day, obviously, you didn't have mirror. You polished metal and polished it. On the first film, it was aluminium varnished to give it that kind of feel. This now we've made is a fiberglass version. We've got metal versions, fiberglass versions, because our dolls have to fight with it and fall about with it. So we've got different weights of it and slightly different sizes. Obviously we've got ripples and different mirrors. We've got ripples that stop about there. So this is clearer, so you can get a bit more reflection. And then after that, they'll then do their magic and create the rest of it, what you see in the film.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all?
When she finds this mirror, what comes out to her surprise is actually Ravenna. We'll see like a body shape inside the material, like the odd shape of like an arm or a leg or a head, as if something is being birthed, basically. And it gets to the point where it feels very human-like, and then we'll actually start to see flecks of gold coming off this form, and then at the end of the scene is when we realise it's Ravenna. It's not a full reincarnation of the original Ravenna. It's a Ravenna who is still somehow attached to the mirror.
I became part of it until you released me.
I think the writers came up with something that was really interesting to me and a means to kind of bring her back for this film.
I've missed you.
The scenes I look forward to seeing completed are usually things that, when you're shooting them, you have no idea what they're going to look like.
All that's left is bare!
One of the trickiest things to do in visual effects is to attach CG to people's bodies. So what we've been doing on the sequence where Ravenna has all of her spikes coming out of her is that we've been using 3 cameras to actually record different angles. On each one of those cameras, I have a GoPro attached. Having a GoPro on the main camera actually following the same movement allows us to work out where that camera was in the set. And then also I have 2 other cameras to like record the scene from completely different angles. So there are shots where like we have 8 cameras recording the information. So that kind of shows how tricky it can be to like attach things to people and then like having them move as well.
Do you still believe that love conquers all?
Seeing something like that come together and go, wow, that's what that looked like, and that's how they filled in that spot and so on is always pretty exciting.
For the death of Ravenna, you'll see a mixture of gold and black. If you remember the obsidian shards from the first movie, well, that's kind of what she's made of, but then with a gold coat from the mirror. So as well as seeing the gold, we're actually going to see the original obsidian shards break into pieces. I'm really excited to be working on this movie and how beautiful it looks.
It's extraordinary with that visual impact that I know Cedric's going to bring in spades.
There are a lot of fantastical visual effects you really can lose yourself in.
Colin and the costumes. Always a good time, especially when you film it.
And this is a woman who's been nominated for an Oscar, I think, 18 times and won 3 times.
It's exciting to create a new look for a fairy tale that is based in something you already have experienced, but just taking it to a totally different place.
I went into the mirror, and there I stayed.
Ravenna's costumes are the kind of costumes that a costume designer gets to make very infrequently in their life because they are costumes of a queen that is a fantasy queen. So they're a fine combination of a fantasy world and a world that's already designed that Ravenna comes into. Charlize said, let's just bring it. So with Ravenna, it was about scale. It was about the operatic scale of a character like Ravenna in the film coming back.
I made you what you are.
Who is the fairest of them all?
Her entrance in the film is through a golden mirror. So I did a dress that looked like it was molten gold on her body. And luckily, Charlize can wear a costume like no other. I used a lot of metallic elements in them that I didn't use in the first film.
It's impossible to not feel like you're in control of the whole world when you are wearing one of those dresses or one of those capes and these incredible crowns and the jewels.
Snow White shall kneel before me.
The crow cape that was in the first movie and that she broke up into revisits this film, but it's a reemergence of Ravenna from the ashes, basically. So we did a version of it where each feather was hand gold leafed, which took a little tribe of people about a month to get the feathers prepped to put the cape together.
She's just so incredible at what she does and such a collaborator.
Love is a lie. Cast it from your mind.
We have a young Frey at the beginning of the film, and her look is a very soft look.
You're carrying his child.
And as the story progresses, she's always behind this armored facade. And then as we sort of see into her internal world, and it's a bit softer, but it's always with the ice theme around it and ice colors.
I think that there's something quite sad about this character that I've really responded to, and hair just being that color and it being literally like ice. They're so straight. It's just been really cool to look in the mirror and see this completely different person before I go on set.
The owl mask was compiled of little tiny feathers we did in the machine and then just placed around and hooked together. So it's quite intricate.
I think that's what's been so exciting, is up close looking at the effects of ice and metal and silver and how she's interwoven all of these different materials to create a look that doesn't really look like anything else you've seen.
I'm stuck.
My biggest challenge so far filming was wearing the enormous silver braided leather cloak.
It's a huge costume, it weighs a lot, and it's a major craft. And it was the most difficult costume to make, but it is a coat that's made to frighten people. It is a cloak of authority.
You will train. You will become my elite, my huntsman.
And that moment in the film, you see that she has returned and she is no longer a meek person, that she is a queen.
In my kingdom, there is but one law. Do not love.
She has a headdress as opposed to a crown, which is a beat away from having a crown.
They are the most beautiful costumes.
Sarah in the film is a huntsperson, so her costumes are very strong. They're feminine. They're costumes that you can actually really fight in. She came from a strong place. She had a strong mother. And I wanted to keep that quality of femininity and strength in her costumes, and that was sort of our starting place with that. But she has made her own costume customized for her style of fighting. She has a sheath on her boot for her knives, and she has a belt device for her special weapons.
Action!
I really love the design of the film. I love, what Colleen Atwood's done with the costumes.
What'd you do that for?
No horses, no tracks. Keep off the road, out of sight.
Eric is very similar to Sarah. They're from the same world. They're cut from the same cloth. Their costumes are leather and elements that come from the forest. They're actually all organic things that they could have found and crafted their costumes from. I think it's just a fun visual ride for people, but it's also got a real story to it.
I got to wear fantastic dresses by Colleen Atwood.
When you put them on, it just changes everything.
With Colleen, you know you're getting at something amazing, and you know when you're going to shoot it, the detail, the texture is going to be there.
She truly is an artist.
Who are you?
Griff. I do service. I'm his brother. Half-brother. Same mum.
In the first movie, we had all the dwarfs that were really funny, and we said, oh, let's expand that. Let's discover a little bit more about them and keep this kind of banter, humor going on, and just put more of that.
I am Snow White's man as well. I mean, dwarf. If she's in trouble, I want to help.
It was a conscious decision to bring the dwarves very much into the story from the beginning. So they're part of the whole tale and the whole movie.
Bit choosy for what she's offering. I just was really thrilled to come back and to hook up with Rob. Rob and I are friends off set, and our kids go to the same school.
I've known Nick for a long time, and it's very funny for our little boys that both their dads are dwarves. A role which I should say I am technically too tall for, which is the first time that's ever happened for me. I'm 5'7", which is, nothing to shout about. But in this case, I've never felt taller.
I think once my agent told me that Rob would be playing Griff, I actually punched the air on the phone. And that's the last time I felt so happy about it. Now we've just got into a funk of having to see each other every day, and it's kind of really disappointing.
It's lunchtime now.
Still going to have our lunch in a minute.
Although it was quite funny because wasn't there a misprint on the menu, Nick? You
Yeah,
want to
it
maybe
said,
tell
sorry.
them about that?
Instead of lamb kofta, it said lamp kofta.
If you're working with someone like Nick, then it's a delight to mess around and make up, little stupid little comic moments. In filmmaking, they call this a woodland scene, and that's why we've built this woodland here at Shepperton.
It's a lot.
That one there is actually a man in a tree. That's a tree suit.
So it can be moved. We can just move him around. Give us a wave, Andy.
There we are.
There he is. Hey, Andy.
It keeps you on the ball because when you do roll, our role in the film is to be funny, is to be witty, is to be a counterpoint to the drama. So you need to keep yourself ready to do that. He did Greystoke.
He did do Greystoke.
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit. Battle of the Five Armies. That was the last one he did.
Yeah.
And I think he was on the first film too.
And he was actually played a much smaller tree in Four Weddings and a Funeral, where they have the wedding reception in the marquee, and you see a tree when Hugh Grant gives the speech. You see a tree. That was his first.
Yeah, a cherry tree.
Yeah. It was a sapling.
The two of them have a great sense of humour, great at improv, bring a whole different energy to set, and it brings a different energy out of my character. There's a great sort of banter we can have back and forth.
The dirt is talking to me again. What's he saying? He's saying the mouthy one's an idiot who wouldn't last a day in his own and should go home. I agree.
Chris Hemsworth, I think a lot of it comes from him too, because as a person, he's very light and comedic, and he laughs a lot.
Good value, really.
Have you ever seen a female dwarf?
No, I can't see that, huh?
Horrifying.
Horrifying's the best of them. Impulsive things.
The male dwarfs and female dwarfs live separately, They have a hard time getting along.
Bugger me.
Shut your mouth, you monkey slag.
Shut yours, you grotty wanker.
Kiss my ass, you filthy minger.
Kiss mine, you wobbly shite box.
Mrs. Bronwyn is the feisty one, and she bullies Griff. Whereas in real life, Rob bullies me.
Sheridan is here after winning a competition with TV Quick. And she's been allowed to come to set for the day and dress up in one of the costumes. And you might notice her in the background in some of the scenes, and it's exciting, isn't it?
It's really exciting, yeah. In a lovely way, in a loving way, I'm sure.
You thirsty? I could get you some water if you like.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I like that a lot. I don't want nothing from the likes of you.
This whole experience is brand new to me, playing. I've never done anything where we've had to do so many visual effects and things like that. So it has been a massive learning curve.
They just want to chill out. Thank you. People say to me, how are they making you that small? And it's a really interesting variety of techniques.
Action.
Before we started shooting, we had to do this dwarf training school, where it was the four of us and our doubles all creating this walk that each of our characters have, and that's got to be one of the funniest.
That was the funniest. Our dwarf master, he made us walk all around the woods while people were jogging past.
And the four of us were dwarf.
You kind of have a little swagger like this, a bit of shoulder action.
It was surprisingly hard to get it right and surprisingly painful. I'm going, oh, my knees are aching. It's just a slight change to how you normally walk.
So I had to just do loads of practice, and I even like went to the shops doing this walk. So my boyfriend was like, "Will you stop?" I was like, "No, I really just need to get this in my body."
There's loads of techniques. Sometimes it's as simple as if we're sat with Chris or Jessica, we'll just be on a lower chair, and that's all there is. A lot of the time, the non-dwarf actors will be on a rostra, on a platform raised about a foot off the ground. So we will walk alongside and they'll be up there. Other times, it's our doubles.
We've got doubles. Mine's Joe and yours Karen, and they use them in the wide shots. And they're wearing a mask made from a mould of our faces.
So they've got it harder because they have to wear the whole head right down to their neck.
And they can't really eat. They can't really eat or speak, but they just look like us.
It's
amazing.
Yes. And we love them as well.
Yeah, they're so great.
My double is a guy named Ed.
This is so upsetting to look at.
Who's about that high on me, and he has to wear this horrible mask of my face.
Go for it.
So it's all sorts of really interesting, sometimes high-tech, sometimes really low-tech ways to convince the viewer that we're dwarves.
I think it's beautiful.
I think you're beautiful. For us as dwarves, the main theme is, is love. As we go on this journey, we're not expecting to fall in love, and not at all. And it happens, and it's a beautiful thing, and I hope it brings a smile to people's faces.
Not on your life. The end scene where Mrs. Bronwyn kisses Griff. That wasn't in originally. And when I told Rob, he thought I was joking. And I said, no, honestly, go and look at the script, there's now a kiss. And I grabbed him, as Mrs. Bronwyn would, in a wrestler-like manner, and gave him a big smacker. It's the first time I've seen Rob a little bit kind of, and I think for the first time he was a little bit scared. In fact, he looked petrified.
Love just kind of springs up everywhere, and it's about sticking together and being friends and not leaving one another, and I think that's something that everyone needs a little bit of.
That's great. I'm happy. For me, the biggest challenge was casting. Because, hello, it's like my first movie. Then you have Charlize Theron, Chris Hemsworth. And then Emily comes in, and then Jess comes in. And I'm like, oh, man. You know what I mean? That's kind of a big plate for a first-timer, right? I was like, am I gonna completely fall apart? Are they gonna tear me apart and throw me to the dogs? And it ended up being the biggest challenge and also my biggest reward. Hands down. Nice job, Chris. Come on. Madame Freeze.
Ready and action.
Ravenna is really two different characters. There is the Ravenna before the first movie, where she is evil, but yet she does have a human side with her sister.
Is it love? Truly.
It is love, truly. Your move.
There was so much more to explore from the first film. For all of her villainous qualities, she really is somebody that's quite broken, and I think that's what I always loved about her.
Your sister holds a baby to her breast, a daughter. She will grow to be more beautiful than even you.
She has this belief that power is within beauty, and she lives her life by this fear of losing her power.
And then in the second part of the movie, Ravenna comes back after the first movie, so after she actually died. And it's a different character altogether because it's like the soul and the darkness and the magic of Ravenna remains, but she's also half mirror.
Nobody really knows what her magic is. Nobody really knows what she's capable of, and that's what makes her so threatening. There's something really nice about playing somebody who does despicable things, embracing her evil side. And that, you know, is really fun for me as an actor to go and explore.
It's been heaven to be around Charlize, and I just love her. She's such a powerhouse, an inspiring actor to breathe the same air as.
This is my kingdom.
Did you say something?
This is my kingdom. Of course it is.
So Freya, who is played by Emily Blunt, she's the younger sister of Ravenna. She's the beta, where Ravenna is the alpha.
Usually when you meet a villain in a film, you're not really given any backstory to them. And I've been given a backstory that has just been so transporting.
Freya has this innocence about her, and she goes on this journey of really discovering her power.
She is a traumatized, very complex villain in the sense of like she really thinks that she's doing something right and she's doing something good.
Freya is emotionally so unhinged by what happened to her and what happened to her child that there's a certain madness to the character, and you start to see her unravel throughout the course of the film, which has been so much fun to play.
Snow White's army and their lands will be mine, and their children. Their children. For I am queen.
What Emily Blunt has done with Freya is there's still a remnants of heart in there. Although she's trying to ignore it, she's constantly pushing back those feelings and trying to believe the propaganda that Ravenna had put upon her.
How did you draw the weakness out? What did you do?
I've never seen Freya or Ravenna as all evil. When you're working with actresses the caliber of Charlize and Emily, they're not going to play it like that. They're going to make it multifaceted and dimensional and real human beings.
I loved you.
That's why I'm stronger than you.
And action.
Eric is the Huntsman from the original Snow White and the Huntsman film.
No.
Pulled it out and then that, or is it all in one?
No, one.
What was exciting about this was being able to explore where he'd come from, why he was the drunk that we met at the beginning of the Snow White and the Huntsman, and what was the previous life prior to meeting Snow White.
I saw the doll kill you. I saw him kill you with my own eyes. I would never leave you.
But I saw you leave me with my own eyes.
This time round gives us an opportunity to have a solid love story. And also to lighten the tone in many ways. I think there's a lot more humor in this film.
She's got another knife.
Yeah, I probably should have said something.
Chris understands how to pull these incredible chops out. Just from cracking a joke to going right into a scene with a flawless Scottish accent, and he blows you away.
That is charming. And you can piss off too, if you so eloquently put it, but that's not going to get rid of me. You're still my wife.
Sarah is Eric's wife, and she's one true love, and she is a fierce warrior and huntsman, and probably more so in many ways than Eric is.
She's the Huntsman's love interest, but she does not need to be saved.
I thought, well, she looks pretty cool, pretty interesting, something I've never done before.
Jessica, she's very feminine, but she's very strong. She's feisty.
I was talking about the film before she'd signed on, and she said, "Look, do I get to kick ass?" I was like, yeah, a lot, I think.
Action!
That was what she wanted to do, and definitely what she does in this film.
It was a lot of fun. I worked with the incredible stunt team to learn the fights.
She brought that same intensity and work rate that she does in films like Zero Dark 30 to this.
You know, I used to be a dancer, so it was really great because it feels like a choreography, like doing a dance.
Come on, baby.
Looks great.
The Huntsman has a great elegance to it, and the story is actually very character-driven.
You betray me for love.
There's just so many more layers to it. There's a lot more characters, and so everybody's kind of feeding off each other, and it makes for really interesting storytelling.
I really like having a little bit of a loose set. I really like having a good ambiance and people having a lot of fun, and I like this kind of lighter tone. And I really want the actor to have a good time.
Cedric is hugely enthusiastic. He's like a big kid, which is infectious and a great energy to have on set.
Well, right in the crack!
He really loves actors, so you're working in an environment that is so emboldening.
Bam! Oh, yeah! He was really passionate about this, and he really veered us into interesting directions.
I love working with Cedric. His energy's so strong, and he's never tired, it seems, which is shocking after months and months of working.
This is what I need to do before I'm able to shoot. I need to get in character.
Come on, give it to me. That's it? That's all you got? That's all you got?
I'm not gonna really hurt you.
That's all you got?
He loves to laugh. It's just this amazing childlike enthusiasm for every day.
Finding chaos. I mean, to me, it's like we did this, and then it's that, and then you're like,
He does like to direct with sound effects. Like you go in and he's like, boof, and then you're like, whoa, like that.
like you see it's coming up.
Talks in. He says this scene is like, you know, you are. And then she is, and then it's, and then, but
So he's like, he's crying, and he's like, oh no, danger.
You've got plenty of versions of him doing it, and, you know, a bit more like this, and up, or down.
This, and then
more like,
so it's like, dang, it's like, bam, 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 bam.
But you understand what he means.
it's an international language.
What I mean, like, I am a crazy person.
It's been heaven, actually, to be around Charlize, and the sisterly bond we've managed to achieve off-set has sort of translated onto camera.
I got to do most of my stuff with Emily. They reek of it. I've basically become a single white female. I'm completely obsessed with her.
Shut up. Go for it. Elbow.
I know, I did. I was like...
This is for the catch? What's this shot for?
Not for the catch, it's for the mirror.
Hemsworth I've known for a while. You know, I met him through friends before.
Emily's great. I've been friends with her for a few years, and just a great sense of humour, great attitude, incredibly talented.
I worked very little with Jessica, but I spent my first 2 weeks with her. I so enjoyed that.
Jessica, I think we have a good amount of banter back and forth.
I'm not looking. I'm not looking. I'm not looking. Because you're gonna go like this. I was not born yesterday. Oh, tell Wardrobe, I'm not gonna play.
It's quite brother-sisterly at times.
1 point for me.
No.
Yeah, that counts.
When are you telling me to judge it?
No. Listen, if you're so rude, then there's no point in talking to you at all.
Jess. Hang the lamp for us, Harley.
Shoot.
See?
Look, right there. Look, Rob. That's what's going on right now. They don't want to watch you just sitting here.
Doesn't focus. They're always, you know, messing about. And it sort of surprised me how much Chris would be kind of larking it around.
Go to the chopper!
Chris Hemsworth, look, chatty chat. I think you'll find mine is slightly bigger.
I would say Rob Brydon is the most mischievous.
I got it wrong. Can I start again? Sorry.
He bullies me daily.
Not true. Not true. I persecute her. And there is a difference. I think there's a sharper edge to persecution.
He's so funny. Like Nick Frost.
Nick and I mess around. I'm sure it must annoy some people as much as it delights them.
We're having a lot of giggles.
I'll be really sad when it's over, because with Jessica, who I'm just such a huge fan of, and to get to work with her, but just have such a laugh with her, how silly everyone is.
Shut up!
I had my last scene with Emily today, and I couldn't believe it. We both realized we were shocked by it, and as we said goodbye, we're like, okay, we have to find something else now, because I loved those ladies. They're the best at what they do, and I just like working with them.
Charlize there and finished in picture, everybody.
Thank you for everything, dude. So happy I got to experience. Cedric blew me away. He was the shepherd, he was the leader. The whole experience ended up being as great as it was because of him.
Emily Blunt finished in picture.
We are a wrap with Jessica Chastain. Thank you very much. And I think if the process is enjoyable and if everybody is happy to see each other and come on set, then it's gonna work.
It was so much fun. I'm surprised we got any work done. It's good.